Hey guys, welcome back. So we're in week 4. That's crazy. I can't believe it's been about a month. Week 4, but we're in episode 3 of my journey here. So thank you again for everyone who's tuned in and also the 20 subscribers that I've have up to this point. So if you know anyone or friends or family that you watch these videos and you thought might be of help, be great if you share with them, like, subscribe. My goal in the next 2 or 3 weeks is to see if we can double that or get a little bit over double and get to 50 subscribers. Okay. So again, if you see the channel, you've enjoyed it, love for you to make comments on it, share it, like it, so that we can kind of spread the word. Okay. And then for Chris, one of my cousin, I remember to take my earphones off, so I'm recording without the AirPods. Hopefully, it'll come off okay. I have my mic here, and then also one of my niece. I was very happy to see this. One of my niece actually made a comment on my second episode. She asked a little bit about some of the for me to share some of the things that I've kind of went through challenges, how I overcame them, or how I'm working through that. So I think today I'll talk a little bit about that, and then also just continuing from episode 2 last week. So thank you to everyone who's watched to this point, and to folks who continue to make comments on it, both on Facebook and in the YouTube video. So I love those interactions. Continue to do that. All right. But before I jump into the question that one of my niece asked, just want to continue a little bit about what we talked about last week. So first week we talked about the importance of mindset, and then we continue on building on that with having a strong vision and what that looks like, and how I kind of continue that conversation. Um, Visualization or having a creative imagination is something that's very important to me as I went through this journey. So, and these two things are kind of like the foundations of what I felt that helped me the most, and that's why I'm continue to emphasize on that. The visualization part was so important to me, or I felt like it was so critical to where I'm at today in the last couple of years of going through this shift, that about a year ago I started doing a little book club with several of my nieces and nephews and my daughter, ranging from age at the time like 9. My daughter was around 9 or 10, um, to like in their early 20s. And that book, let me see if I can find it. That book. This was the book that we did a little book club on. It's by Neville, and the title of the book is called The Power of Awareness. So I would say two of my all-time favorite books since I started going on this journey. First, I think most people would know is the Napoleon Hill's the How to Think and Grow Rich, and then this book is probably my second one, because the information in there, I think what resonated with me was a lot of it talked kind of about the law of attraction or the law of vibration with Bob Proctor, who's also someone I look up to a lot in terms of the things that they teach about personal development. And this book was written way before those times, and as I was going through it, I just realized that a lot of the personal development, self-help, all the rah-rah type of stuff, they all kind of derive from a lot of teachings that was uh, done way before our time. And the further back I researched, the more I just kind of gravitated towards those type of messages. This talks really about the importance of your mind and how you visualize and imagine things, and how that helps bring it to life. I like it because the author has, like a religious background, but the way he explained it is totally not religious at all. I myself is not that religious of a person, but it was good to see that, you don't have to be very religious to believe in some of these. Really, what I was think is like pretty common sense things if you want to improve yourself and make yourself a contributing individual to society, right? So I love this book. I recommend it. I don't get any sort of, um, I mean, I don't get any financial gains from promoting it. I just think that it's a great book. It's, $10, $12, and you can really improve yourself a whole bunch. So go ahead and give that a read, and if you have time, and I would love for any comments, feedback on what you like, what you didn't like, if any of the information in there resonated with you. Okay? But then on to some of the comments that one of my nieces asked me to talk a little bit about, which is, personal challenges, going through failures, and how I deal with that. From a personal side, I think if you're also a Hmong person, whether you're a daughter or a son, I think, and you have traditional parents like myself, I think that we all go through some level of this. And of course, for me, I feel like with my parents not being very educated, but very, you know, wise and have a lot of just life experience, they expected a lot out of us. They expected certain things out of you as a son. And then whether you're the oldest, youngest, in the middle, whatever, there's different expectations, right? So from a personal side, I would say a lot of the things, of course, like any other Asian parents, they want you to go to school, have a good education, become a doctor or a lawyer or something that they feel like you barely do anything and you get a whole bunch of money, but they don't really understand the process and all the grind that you have to go through, right? So I was never interested in any of that, and so by not doing that is almost like going against some of your parents' wishes. And of course, if you have immigrant parents like myself and you look through their struggles and their sacrifices to put you on here, of course you want to be able to do something and give back to make them proud that their sacrifices were not in vain, right? So uh, that was something that I struggled with going just as I was finishing up high school, deciding what I wanted to do, because I was never really a hands-on person, never really felt like I had a lot of passion in anything specifically. So I just went through and decided to do a business degree. Um, my decision in that was I felt like I don't recall why this came about, but I just remember that whatever decisions I do make personally for me or my professional future, I want it to be my own decisions, because if I were to fail in the future, I didn't want to have an excuse to be like, oh, I failed at this because it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was because my parents drove me towards that, right? Like, I didn't want an out for my failure. So that's ultimately why I decided the route that I went in terms of education, and a lot of times it's just personal decisions too, so if you guys are in the Washington State area and familiar, you guys know that a lot of our older generation, a big part of the earnings is through farming, doing the flower business or the just agriculture, which is done great for them. But I never saw myself in that line of work, just because I'm not a very labor intensive individual, and so a lot of times I had to step away from not really contributing to like my family's business. I of course did what I could, but I never overextended myself to where I couldn't focus on my education, or I couldn't focus on the thing that was important to me. Just like spending time with friends, something as simple as that, right? So of course when you make those decisions and everyone else is like helping and doing their part, there's a part of you that feels like maybe you're not giving it enough. But ultimately, again, I didn't want it to fall back to a situation where if I didn't go as far in life or in my personal or professional career path, I didn't want to resort to saying, oh, I could have done better, but because it was my parents or whoever else or someone else making a decision for me, right? So that was really how I kind of justified all my decisions and how I went through it from a personal side of things. Professionally, I mean, I think we all struggle with different things. part of the reason why I started doing these videos is because talking in front of the camera or doing presentations or talking in front of a big group is not something that it comes natural to me, or working on how to persuade or pitching is an idea that you strongly believe in and trying to get someone to understand where you're coming from or buying into that idea or that philosophy, right? Those are the type of things that I never really put myself out there. So those type of things has always been a challenge for me. And you had talked about like your challenges of accepting failures, and I'm very similar in that sense because naturally I'm pretty risk averse. So a lot of times I would never commit to a decision unless I knew there was like a high degree, like 90-95% chance of success rate, right? And so for a long time, that's how I operated. And for the most part, I mean, I've been pretty blessed professionally in my career. So I can't really complain. But if I'm being honest, I feel like when I was younger, where I had the I had time on my side, and I didn't really have a lot to my name in terms of um, money or business success or personal wealth, where I look back now and I wish I would have taken more risk or be okay with failing more, right? I was so scared of failing that I took a lot of, I would consider, safe decisions, and they've served me fairly well for the most part. But I felt like if I would have had the right mindset and realized that when I was younger, I would have been easier for me to take extreme risk, because even if I went to zero or negative, I didn't have a lot to my name, so it would have those would have all been, instead of failures, it should have been looked at as like just like going to college, right? It's another education or another learning lessons. It's what you make of it. So that's another reason why I keep going back to the mindset piece, because if you don't have that right mindset, when you fail, you might think you're failing. Instead, if you looked at it as like, oh, I did it the incorrect way, or I didn't take enough accountability, or I didn't do the proper due diligence, that's why I failed. So next time I'm in a similar situation, I have a little bit more knowledge or wisdom, right? So I would say those are some of the things that I challenges that I work through and I try to overcome. And the biggest one now for me is, again, being on this side of things, or trying to shift into a more of a entrepreneurship or self-employment type role, where you're being your own boss. You really have to be out there and marketing yourself, telling your story. And so it's still a big challenge for me that I'm still working on a daily basis, of learning how to be a better storyteller. That's part of the reason why I'm doing these videos, right? Just to be comfortable being in front of the cameras, talking to whoever, strangers, like cold calling, just talking to people that I have no emotional or relational connection with, is something that I like scares me, because I think most of us are not good at taking rejections, right? And that's why we don't do the things that are uncomfortable. So doing these videos is like one little step towards that, and hopefully it'll resonate with you guys, that we all struggle with the same things. Even as I'm learning about some very, very successful people, when they all started, we all have the same kind of challenges to overcome, right? Just a level of discomfort that we haven't experienced. So now I'm trying to go through that, put myself through these discomfort or uncomfortable situations, trying to figure out if it's really that bad. And once I break that hurdle, can I be better at being a better storyteller? Can I be better at conveying, certain philosophies that I feel like serves me right, and I want to pass it on to other people too, right? So hopefully this will help that and answer your question. But if I didn't answer everything, go ahead and comment it in the comment section, and I'll try to do a better job of explaining that in the future, okay? So with that out of the way, the only, let me see, we're in 15 minutes now. I'm trying to keep it under 30 minutes. So the only other thing that I wanted to talk about today was the first lesson that I learned through my first year of jumping in and doing the investing. And what that was, that biggest takeaway was just like taking action, doing the actual work. Simple things like starting to, for me, it was looking at acquiring my first rental property. So a simple thing is like setting up a search with my real estate agent because I was trying to find something on the market, and actually making a decision to make offers on it, right? So it may not feel like it's that big of a deal at the time, but just going through the motions of evaluating certain properties, getting yourself comfortable and making an offer, signing through it, right? And so from March or April of 2021 to July of 2021, when I secured my first deal, like every week or every other week, we are just like looking at deals, going in, seeing it in person, making offers, and being comfortable with making offers above asking price. Just taking those steps to really try to secure a property. And then once I got the property finally in July, now there's other actions to take. Now I gotta actually like figure out, like, go reach out and talk to the existing tenants, set up processes in place to collect rent, to notify tenants, to make sure they have my contact information, because my approach at the time was I wanted to self-manage first. So getting a process in place, and everyone talks about a system, but that was something that was, just such a big thing for me to try to implement, even though it's just like a few units. Is the habit of putting in a good system where tenants can contact you if there's an issue. You can reach out to certain people to fix it if you're not able to fix it, right? Like, and then like when rent is due, like how do I go about collecting payments, and what kind of things do I need to pay attention to make sure I don't violate any sort of housing laws, tenant landlord laws in the area, right? So my biggest takeaway from 2021 was just taking action and getting that first deal out of the way. Whether or not it made money was not really my concern at the time. And the biggest reason why I thought that way was just because at the time the cost of capital or borrowing money was so low that um, it cost a lot of the home prices to get inflated as well. So I just thought, if I don't get into one deal, I will never get in a deal and will never start actually handling everything hands on. And that's why I was so aggressive with that first deal. But what that did was, after that first deal, the next two deals came within like the same year and a half, or really within the same year, because I closed on the second deal in December of 2021, and then the third deal was closed in June of 2022. So within the span of that first year, we acquired like the three properties. So that just shows you the importance of momentum and making that very first decision to just push forward and take action, right? And everyone talks about it all the time. Even if I look at certain things that I did in terms of just going to school, making the decision to go to a 4-year college, as the first person in my family to do that. Little things like this, I've always taken action, but it was like I said earlier, much what I felt like mentally much safer decisions to make, right? Because everyone was doing it. It felt like it was the right thing to do. So this was just another step in that, and evolving in the taking action environment in a setting that I was not comfortable with, which was it. You could really fail if you don't put in proper due diligence, or really make sure that all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed, right? And I didn't, honestly, I didn't have all those crossed, but I just felt like if I didn't make this decision, I would never put myself in a position to do those type of things. And so, for today, that was the message I wanted to lay out there for everyone. That if you really truly want to go after something, whether it's real estate, another business, like higher education, whatever it is that you feel is truly important to you or you're passionate about, just take action towards that. Okay, so that's the message for today. Again, thank you for your time. If you guys have any questions for me, leave it in the comments, share with your friends and family, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Okay, take care. Bye bye.